Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Renee. If you're new, hello and welcome. Today's video is going to be my humble opinions about society's views on happiness. I've been watching a few TED Talks and YouTube videos on mental health this month. I don't know, I'm just kind of drawn to it, and understanding emotion and feeling and all of that is very interesting to me. And this morning I had an idea of what this video was going to be, but then this morning I just sat down and kind of just brain dumped everything that I was thinking up here onto a piece of paper, researched the hell out of it, and I came up with 5 reasons to me why I feel like happiness is overrated and not a realistic goal to set for yourself. The first thing that I kind of came to the realization was through a Jubilee video, which I love Jubilee, and I'll leave that video linked down below if you guys are into it. I highly recommend if you are interested in mental health. It's a really great eye-opening video, and I really liked what I learned from that, and that's kind of what sparked this video in the first place. What I kind of got from that video was that happiness is a lot of pressure. There's one girl in particular that said some things that kind of just resonated with me. It's unfair to measure yourself in the spectrum of one emotion, because there's such a spectrum to emotions in general, but also to one specific emotion. Society always tells us that we should be happy all the time. If we're not happy all the time, something's wrong with us. We're not living our most fulfilled life. To rate yourself and rate your life on one emotion is so wrong on so many different levels, and creates a lot of internal pressure, questions, and doubts about yourself when you're not feeling that one emotion. We strive for happiness. We base our life from that one emotion, and just that emotion itself is also a spectrum. There's so many different things out there that can make us happy. There's so many different things out there that can make us sad. So why would we rate our whole entire lives on one emotion? Life is constant ebbs and flows. Life is a wave. As corny as that sounds, it's so true. And we can't create pressure on ourselves to sit there and try to be in a state of one emotion, happiness, in a constant flow throughout life. That's just so unrealistic. So I think society has it wrong. I think we shouldn't be striving for one emotion and a constant state of that one emotion. I think we should be feeling all different types of way throughout different parts of life. That's who we are. We're human beings. We shouldn't base our life on that one specific emotion. It's just so unfair to ourselves. The second kind of aha moment for me when I was researching this video was that all of our emotions have a purpose. There is a valid reason to why we have specific emotions, which I wanted to know more about. I want to know, what was the purpose of me being upset? What was the purpose of me being sad? Our ancestors have survived because of these emotions. They worked for us. They got us to where we are now. So what does our body do? It holds on to it because they serve a valid purpose. There are 5 reasons why we have emotions. First of all, they help us take action. They help us survive. Obviously, we wouldn't be here without them. They help us strike or protect us against danger. They help us make vital decisions, and they help us understand one another. Diving more into my research, I found that Paul Ekman actually identified 6 core emotions. Those 6 core emotions are disgust, happiness, sadness, surprise, fear, and anger. Now, diving more into this, I wanted to know, why do we have these? Number 1 is disgust. The purpose of disgust is avoidance. For example, if you're outside in the wilderness and you see a rotten berry and you're eating berries and then you see one that's kind of smushed or it smells bad, we avoid eating it because survival-wise, it's bad. So that feeling of disgust has a purpose. The second one, happiness. Don't we all love happiness? It's probably the best feeling emotion out there. Happiness is obviously there to reward ourselves for beneficial behavior. Anything that we do good, obviously we get really happy, so our body thinks we're gonna do it again. Now, sadness. There is a purpose behind sadness, believe it or not. First of all, it acts as a self-protection mechanism. It actually slows our body down, which I found really interesting, to help kind of zone in and focus on a problem that we're dealing with. And then it also pushes for social support. Again, we're social creatures, so sadness helps us connect to one another and, use each other. The 4th emotion is surprise, and what surprise does is it prepares us for an unexpected thing. When you're surprised, your working memory is swiped away from your brain, and it activates attention and curiosity towards that unexpected or new stimuli that you're seeing. The fifth one is fear. So the purpose of fear obviously is to protect us against anything that is dangerous. And then the sixth one is anger. What I found was that anger mixes physical pain with emotional pain, so it activates the need to like figure something out really quickly. And when you're angry, your adrenaline goes really high. Adrenaline helps your body move more quickly. Ultimately, it just motivates like quick decision making. So all of these emotions, these 6 core emotions, have a purpose. And instead of suppressing certain emotions because you feel like you shouldn't have those feelings or you're rejecting those feelings, why don't you try to understand them more? And next time you're feeling this certain way, like think about, what is my body trying to protect me from? What is my body trying to tell me? And don't feel guilty for having these feelings, because we're human and like there's a purpose for them. Like that's why we have them. We shouldn't ever feel guilty for feeling a certain emotion, but also keep in mind not to stick and hold on to emotion for too long, because I think that's where a lot of like depression comes from. I'm not like a doctor or anything, so don't like quote me on this, but what I'm thinking is like depression is like holding on to the sadness and trying to suppress it and feeling guilty for feeling sad, and then ultimately like your body just reacts and creating more sadness because it's trying to fix the problem of, why am I sad? I shouldn't have this feeling. And in turn you just get depressed and you're holding on to one certain emotion for too long, longer than it should be there for, instead of just feeling it, letting it go, understanding like why it's there in the first place, and just releasing it and not feeling guilty over having a certain emotion that we are innately supposed to be feeling. So the third thing that I kind of understood was from a TED Talk that I watched. Again, I'll leave it linked down below if you're interested. It was like why you're feeling depressed or anxious. And what he basically said was that you're not crazy if you're feeling depressed or anxious. And a lot of the times when people do feel depressed or anxious, they think they're crazy, and you're not. The thing is that you have unmet needs. We have physiological needs and then we also have psychological needs. They're very different, but we need them both. The physiological needs, obviously shelter, food, water, and then the psychological needs, I've actually studied them a lot through college, high school, and I'm sure you guys have heard of them, but there's like a pie chart or a triangle chart of like your needs. And at the very top are the more psychological needs, and it's called Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Those psychological needs have a lot to do with like your self-esteem, a motivation, a sense of belonging, a sense of connection and love. You know, those are all needs. So whenever you're feeling depressed or anxious, maybe you're not crazy. Maybe you're missing a psychological need, and that's why you're stuck in this kind of deep, dark place. Maybe you're lacking self-esteem. Maybe you're lacking connection to other people. Maybe you're lacking a sense of belonging. You can use those emotions, those 6 core emotions, to see, what am I feeling right now and what does that mean, in order to see what is missing from your psychological needs. And I actually ran across a picture on Pinterest, out of all places, shows certain emotions and like what they mean. So for example, like it says bitterness. If you're feeling bitter, it shows you that you need to heal. And if you're holding on to judgment of yourself or others, like if you're feeling resentful towards something or someone, it shows that you're living in the past and not allowing the present to be what it is. If you're angry, it shows what you're passionate about, what your boundaries are, and what you believe needs to change about the world. If you feel shameful, it shows that you're internalizing other people's beliefs about who you should be or who you are, and you need to reconnect with yourself. So whatever the feeling is, like I'm sure if you Google whatever you're feeling, say, what's the purpose of this? What does this mean? And really try to understand it and grasp it, and don't feel guilty for feeling that certain feeling. So the fourth idea that I kind of understood through this research of mine is that we are becoming lonelier and lonelier and lonelier, and we are social creatures. Again, this is like a basic need for survival. It's part of the psychological needs in the chart. Connecting with other people is how we survived. Like that's just in our nature. We're social creatures. That's how we have evolved and adapted into what we are today. Society now is becoming lonelier and lonelier in the sense that we're not face to face with a lot of people anymore. In terms of like connecting with others, just like social media online, social networking has kind of replaced meeting up with friends. Working from home and on technology has replaced the office and being with the workforce with other people. Everything's kind of online now. Communication on technology, it's like you can go email, you can text, you can call, but there's no face to face. You can literally deliver your groceries now, which is crazy. I've totally done that before too. I'm like bashing anyone that does. It's very convenient, but it drives us from that connectiveness, which again is a psychological need. And so our minds react in a way of feeling sad and lonely, and it does that because it has a purpose, because during our past here on earth, being with people has helped us survive. So our brain is telling us something's wrong and we need to be more connected with people. We need people, you know, we need others in our life. That's a need that we have, and it's going away and no one's really talking about it. This loneliness could lead to depression, it could lead to suicide, it could lead to alcohol abuse, drug abuse, and that's all so bad. We need to push ourselves to do more things that connect us with one another. Maybe that anxiety and depression and mental health from society today will most likely go down. I think that has a lot to do with what I'm struggling with mentally. Like, I have a lot of mental health concerns, and I think a lot of it has to do with my job. I work alone, like I don't interact with a lot of people in the day, and I think that's really, really not healthy. And I think it's something that I've kind of recognized, and I want to make a choice about on how I can become better at that. So it's just something to keep in mind. And then the fifth and final realization that I had is that it is what it is, you know, like, believe it or not, we are just nature. We are all part of nature here on this earth. And our emotions and feelings are literally just chemical reactions in our brains to help us survive and adapt and reproduce. And it just is. Like, we make things so much more complicated than it needs to be. There was a quote that I came across by Shakespeare, and it says, "There is nothing either good or bad, but thinking that makes it so." So I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video or got something from it. It's very interesting. I think emotions and feelings and the brain and just human beings in general are such like interesting creatures. Emotions and feelings are there for a reason, and we shouldn't feel guilty for having them, and we should understand them more, because I think that's where a lot of the guilt and resistance of feelings and emotions come from. And I think that is a huge connection to mental health and where society is kind of heading right now, and I don't think it's a good place. So just talking about it, being open about it, and trying to understand it more can be like so much more helpful. It is for me, at least. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys all in a future video. Bye.
Do just what you want.